And this is our annual chance to catch up on the world of 2D and QR codes. And we have a lot to go through as shared. But first of all, just need to make everyone aware of the antitrust policy. Again, if everyone can go on mute, I think there's a few people not on mute at the moment. So please take note of this, not to share sensitive proprietary data that might get us into trouble with the antitrust police. Moving on, the ECR group, if you've not been with us before, this is an ecosystem made up of about 400 retailers, and we have also associations with academics and academic groups in there. And again, we're going to have some representation from some new academics today. And we have the good fortune to have research grant providers who give us money to give to the academics so that we can create new research. So that's our ecosystem. The Food Waste Working Group has been going for since 2014. We have a very narrow scope: prevent food surplus in the store, and then manage the efficient exit of that food surplus out of the store. So we're looking at technology innovations, we're looking at best practice sharing, and we've produced some great research in this space, and hopefully you've all seen it. We have online meetings. We've already had quite a few online meetings this year, and we're at our fourth one, but you might have want to get recordings of the previous ones, then please give me a go and give me a shout. Again, if I could just ask everyone to be on mute, that would be great. And then we have our in-person meeting this year being hosted in Dublin, and we're looking forward to seeing you there on November the 12th and 13th. We've got some store visits lined up, new academic research, and so we're very excited about that. But today we're looking at QR codes. This is probably our 5th annual review of QR codes. It's an area that we've been looking at from an academic perspective with Rob and Carol, and we're going to hear from Rene today. But also we've been hearing from Woolworths that they've been going on their journey, and they've been kind enough to share where they've got to, and we'll be providing a verbal update today. And Roberta has stayed up past 9 o'clock in the evening to join us. So thank you very much, Roberta, once again for your support. We've also doing some work and put together a paper, and got some help from Sarah on this as well, and others who've given me input. You may recall in Ahold Delhaize we ran this exercise around what were the 10 conditions for QR to scale by 2030. We're starting to put this paper together around these 10 conditions, if you like. And again, expect that paper to come out soon. You've also been kind enough to, some of you, 23 of you, have been kind enough to share your thoughts on the readiness survey. If you haven't done it, it will only take 2 or 3 minutes. There's some good questions in there, and you can scan that QR code. But we're starting to see some differences in terms of those that have started the journey, those that have not started. Again, different approaches coming through in the research, which is great. So that's what we've got there in terms of expectations for today. Here's some of the things that you've asked about. So looking forward to hearing, I suppose broadly, you're looking forward to the updates and what's going on in terms of the real world. So that's what we'll hopefully provide. We're going to go through, after my antitrust introduction, which we've just done, we're going to hear from Rene, who I hope is on the call. I'm trusting that. I can't see all the people there. We've got 73. Then we're going to have 3 retailer presentations: Mercadona, Tesco, and then Norgas Group, and that's the order I received the presentation, so no favourites there. And then we'll come to Roberto for a verbal update, and then go around the room and really hear from you. And this is where hopefully you can find your mute buttons or unmute buttons, and share back what was new, what was different, and what was surprising. So that's what we've got coming up. Now, hoping that Renee is available. She's going to probably take over
Yeah.
and share her screen. You're there, Renee?
Yes, I'm there, and indeed I will share my slides. Seems like it's
So
not
Renee's
sharing
put together,
correctly. Sorry for that.
yep, put some great slides together. Just again, 10 minutes just in terms of
Yeah,
setting up why we're interested in this area, what could be some of the benefits. And we think the
yeah,
data scientists on the call would really like this one.
yeah. Okay, so I'm René Heimer from the Wageningen University in the Netherlands. I'm the Operations Research and Logistics Group. So I give an operations research perspective on how to use data information. In particular, I focus on discounting and ordering. As time is limited, I do not give a detailed overview what's there in literature, but just report on some recent work that I did on that. So, as addressed, Karel van Donselaar and Rob Broekmeulen have presented before, and they showed this plot in which you actually see that if you like to go for a high on-shelf availability, then it comes at high waste. So, in many software packages, we see a kind of base stock policy implemented, which says that the order size is set by a target stock level minus the actual stock level. So if you push that target stock level very high, then you have a high online shelf availability, but it also comes at high waste cost. So you can shift on this green line, which is called by Rob Caro the efficient frontier. You can move along that green line, and that gives you a trade-off between waste and service level. Obviously, the ultimate aim is to shift the green line towards the blue line, which implies selling more and wasting less. Rob Caro addressed options like a longer shelf life, smaller pack sizes, smaller assortments, etc. And I like to add to that two more options, improved ordering using stock age information and applying dynamic pricing. So knowing the ages of the products in stock matters. If you look at stock age-based ordering, you can achieve a higher online on-shelf availability by correcting for the waste that you anticipate during the replenishment process. You can also better control the freshness of the products on display when it's visible in your information system. It comes to expiration date-based pricing, also there obviously it's relevant to know the ages of the products in stock. As with expiration date-based pricing, you can more mimic the consumer's willingness to pay. So many consumers prefer fresh overall products. So in order to make the old products more attractive, you reduce them in price. This reduces the waste, obviously, but it may also come at an impact on your profit, which is less visible. If you apply a discount and you see your products are getting sold, then you can think this is to be effective, but the impact on profit may be less visible, also maybe because of demand cannibalization that may happen. Well, we take an operation research perspective, so a modeling approach. We don't have empirical data here, unfortunately, but we present results based on optimization and simulation studies. It comes to improved ordering, you can read a paper that we have published in International Journal of Production Economics, that we present modified base stock policies. These are modified in terms that we add an expected waste term, but also modified by preventing large order quantities to happen, which often results in more waste. But you can also reduce waste by having less product dates on display. So we're doing a simulation study with about over 10,000 experiments, ranging in shelf life and other interesting aspects. Don't have the time to go over it, but we focus on the trade-off between overstocking and understocking. So we associate a cost or a penalty to falling short and to to having to waste some products. So by adding an expected waste cost, which is done by a rule which is very similar as the AWAP policy presented by Rob and Karel maybe before, that will help a lot because it reduces 4.6% in terms of this relevant cost. Another policy that we present is the BSP QMax policy, which adds on top of the BSP EW also, EW, also a cap on the order size, and thus it prevents large order quantities to happen. So this is an additional parameter, and that results in reducing the cost further down by 5.6%. And finally, we are presenting in the paper a state-of-the-art policy which is nearly optimal and has not been improved so far other than by exact methods and by machine learning. But machine learning methods are much more complex, and this is a rather simple rule, although it has 2 more parameters to tune, but it's very effective because you can tune if your stock level is low, you can it causes your order quantity to be less than originally set by the base stock policy. So very good results on the latter one. But let's focus now also on dynamic pricing, or more specifically expiration date based pricing, as on these examples related to an expiration date. You find a certain price, so maybe the regular price is €1 and the older products are getting a discount of 20%, as in this example. Or as in this example, you might have 3 prices: the regular price, a discount for the oldest products in stock, but also maybe some of intermediate age. So we are comparing in our study 4 discounting policies, and do not discount at all as a benchmark, or apply a fixed discount percentage that is the same every day and applies to all the products on the last day of expiration. And we have in particular the D2 policy, which is a dynamic policy which sets 2 discount levels, just like in this berry example before, the berry yogurt example. We have 2 discounted prices. And in fact, what we are interested in, how deep should one discount fresh food and what would be the impact on profit? So our approach for doing so is dynamic programming, or machine learning approach. So we have a model that maximizes the profit for a single product by adjusting the discount rates, and these discount rates trigger some consumers that were tending to buy the freshest items from the shelf first, but now get triggered by the discount. So the higher the discount, the more consumers are willing to take the oldest products from the shelf. But the discount also may generate some extra in-store demand. Again, we apply a numerical study. And the results of the study will be published in a paper that is under review at the moment, but I will share it as soon as possible, hopefully in the next 2 weeks on SSRN. But it reveals that this policy with 2 dynamic discount levels generates 3% more profit averaged over the 17 experiments that we did, and 36% less waste. Therefore, it's rather effective. Let's zoom into the discount rates that are optimized. Well, it's gradual discounting, so products that have still a remaining shelf life of 2 days are discounted by about 3%. Products that are on the last day of expiration gets a discount of 9%. So you clearly see that you should start discounting earlier, but at a lower percentage. Further zooming into one of the experiments shows that 40% of the old items are not getting a discount at all, and only a few products get a discount of more than 20%. So last slide. So this raises the question, how are you currently doing in practice? Often I see discount percentages which are in the order of 20 or 30 or even 40%. So I suspect discounting is rather deep. This is also what some retailers has confirmed to me, that they are experimenting with it. This may be very good for waste, very visible because you see your waste going down, but the impact on profit may be not fully clear. So it might be better off in accepting a bit more waste in such to maintain your profits at a high level, and the remaining waste can then be donated to food banks, which saves you disposal costs obviously, but also is good for your corporate sustainability reporting. Another question that I would check with you, how would you consider dynamic pricing, and would you indeed consider to have 3 prices for your product? So gradual discounting, so would you start discounting early? And moreover, I'm also interested in setting up new collaborations with you for practice-oriented research. For instance, we can think of a workshop to discuss the trade-off between discounting and donation and disposal decisions. That's it from my side.
Thank you very much, Renee. Very helpful. The purpose of this was just to really set up, there is academic research behind what we're trying to do here, but also to set you up perhaps with some collaboration afterwards, Renee, with some of the practitioners and the retailers on the room in the meeting today. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
If there's questions on this, please use the chat. But now we're going to hope that our friends from Mercadona are lined up, ready, willing, and able to share their great work. And you can just tell me to move on the slides, or you can share the screen yourself. So Raul or Christina, over to you.
And good afternoon, everyone. If you don't mind, I'll share my screen so it would be easier instead of, okay.
Yes. I like your thinking.
Okay,
Well,
can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can. Perfect.
One moment. Okay.
Okay.
So, first of all, let me take you through a very quick introduction to Mercadona in case some of you don't know anything about us. We're a Spanish leading supermarket chain. Okay, we have more than 1,600 stores in Spain and Portugal. We have more or less 100,000 employees. Our revenue last year was 38.8 billion. Okay, and our market share in Spain is 26.6%. Okay, we have a very specific customer business model that is focused on the customer, which we call the boss. Okay, and we offer products including food, home care, personal care, and pet care. And we are continuously investing in technology and store efficiency. For us, we think that it's one of the most important things that our company, a retail company, has to do nowadays. Okay, so we began working on this project because we wanted to include a QR code on all our variable weight products. So we could identify the supplier for each unit. As you can see here, when we have a product that is pre-coded, like the nuts, we were able to do this. We were able to have different codes for one supplier and from the other one. But we were not able to do this in the variable weight products. So we realized that using a two-bar code was our best solution. So the first thing we had to do was to decide between using a data matrix and a QR. And after all the analysis we did, we found that QR was our winner, okay, because it met all our needs. This analysis was not simple because we even studied what was the minimal grade of inclination that we needed to assure that the reading was done correctly and that the product did not suffer. Okay, here, I think you can see the video. Can you see the video?
Yes.
Okay.
It's some steak mince or beef.
So we have to inclinate partly the tray, but it was important that in this movement, the product that was inside the tray did not suffer any, and the quality was kept. Okay, so in February in 2024, we started to include the QRs in our product. Okay, we replaced the barcode and included this QR with all the information that we needed, like supplier, weight, lot, expiring date, price. So we started last year, as I said, and our pilot was with only one beef product. And what was very important was to give all the employees, all the cashiers, the information about this change, because we didn't want them to start moving the tray looking for the barcode. It was important for us that they knew that they wouldn't find a barcode anymore, and it was going to be replaced with a QR code. So during the rest of the year, our objective last year was to include all the meat products. But we in 2024 we had to slow down because we found very important that we have talked in other chats before. We had a very important enemy that was the wrinkles. Okay, when the QRs looked like this, we were not able to scan them. We were having many difficulties when trying to read this with our scanners. As you can see here in the videos. Okay. My colleague is telling me that you cannot hear the video, but here she's trying to read the QR code and it cannot be read. The same thing happens in this one. So imagine we studied the inclination of the tray. So we have to incline it a lot, and this is what was happening in our stores. So we had to think of quick solutions for our problems. Okay, so we implemented 3 main solutions. The first one was that we put the label on the flat side of the product. And you can see in these ones, we had to make sure that if the product had any flat side, that was where the QR was going to be stuck. Then we talked with our suppliers because we wanted them to improve the labeling system. And what was also very important was for the supplier to include contrast measures during the during the process in order to make sure that all the QRs were read. So here in the graphic, you can see that when we started to implement the QR in our stores, the number of times that the store had to type the QR because it could not be read by the scanner increased. So in August, we stopped the implementation. We didn't remove the products that already had the QR included. And we included these solutions, and the numbers started to go down. So we decided to continue the implementation. And now what we do is we do every week, we do a follow-up on the number because we want to assure that the number goes down and it doesn't go up. Right now, we have about 0.1% of the trays that have to be typed or keyed because the scanners cannot read it. But our target is to reach the 0.05 types, okay? Because before we started this project, approximately 38,000 trays had to be typed in all our stores each month, and now we are in 1,600. So our objective is to reach the number that we had before we implemented this project. If you have any questions, you can ask, okay? I forgot to tell you at the beginning.
They're not shy, Christina. They'll ask. They'll put them in the chat, I'm sure, or shout at you.
Okay. So today we have the QR code implemented in all our wheat meat. Okay, as I said before, our objective in the beginning was to include also all the meat products, but since we had to stop the extrapolation in August, we were not able to do this before the end of the year. But we are now implementing it in all the fixed weight products. We are going to have this in about 1 month, more or less, one or 2 months. Okay, all our QRs right now include information of the lot, expiring date, and sell-by date. But also the variable weight products also include information about the weight and price information. Okay, that's the only difference between the 2 types of products. So what did we obtain after 3 years? We have obtained a lot of benefits, okay, from this project, and we still think that we can obtain more. Okay, some of them are sales suppliers. This was, as I said, our first objective. So we are now able to know if we have two suppliers for the same product, we are able to know how many units we sell from each one. Okay, so this was the only one that we were seeking when we started the project, but we also have found out that we now have in-store traceability improvement. When we want to read information from one tray, we are able to scan the QR without having to type it. We also, the price markdowns, we are also able to lower the price with a process that is easier. We are going to show you some videos. We are also able to control how much trays we expire each day. Okay, so sale by date, we are able to know how many trays are going to expire today. We can now also block expired products, so they cannot be sold to the clients. And we also have improved the consumer engagement, because now the consumer, our boss, like we say, knows that we are doing efforts in order to assure all these benefits. So as I said, this is an example. When we had to obtain any information from the tray, usually we had to type it. But now with the QR, we scan the QR. And we are able to see all the information. Okay. Also, before this project, when we wanted to relabel a tray because we were going to lower its price because it was we were reaching the expire date, we had to take the tray out of the fridge, take it to the scale, change the type of labels because they are different. We had to calculate what price we wanted to put the stickers that indicate that this tray has a lower price because it is reaching the expire date. We had to find the product, calculate its new price, and especially we had to weight the product because we were not able to read the information. Okay, and then take it back to the fridge. Now we have improved this and we are able to read all the information from the product. We can put a new price and directly print the sticker, the label. So this is one of the main gains we have found from this project, sorry. And sorry, and as I said, when now we read fecha de caducidad, that's expiring date. Okay, so the information is in the QR. When we go to the cashier, if the expire date has been reached, we cannot sell. Okay, that means that yes, item locked due to expire date. It is not impossible to sell the product. Please contact the coordinator. So as I said, we think that we are sure that we can get more benefits from this project as we move on. Okay, so what are our next? What do we want to do this year? How do we continue with our project? This year, as I said, we want to finish all the meat. We are going to finish it in 1 or 2 months. And then we are going to start with pre-packed fruit and vegetables. We also want to continue with seafood this year and bakery. And for next year, if we cannot start before, especially structure and other, because we at the beginning we were going, it was very located what product we were going to use the QR for, but every time we find new benefits and new ways of applying the code. So as I said, we are going to start with fruit and vegetables, and we are going to do as we did with the meat. We are going to select one product with a supplier that we know really believes in this project, and we are going to start with them. And this case is this product. And what else are we starting to think? This is only thinking, okay? We can't give you more information because we don't have more information. We are trying to think how we can apply barcodes, data matrix in traceability and store and warehouses. Okay, so this is still in very early stages. We are starting to talk about this. So maybe in future meetings, we can tell you more information. Okay, so conclusions. QR here is helping us a lot as we are obtaining a lot of benefits. We have learned a lot during the project. That is true that some of the barriers we found in the implementation at the beginning, we never thought they could be there. Okay, we have, this is not only for Mercadona. I'm sure anyone can find benefits, even other benefits that we are not seeing right now. So if you need any help, just ask us. And we are going to continue with this project during this year and next to see what else we can find. And it's very important as the last one, that is work with partners. I mean, it's very important to work with, in our case, we were working with the GS1 Spain, and to find providers and suppliers that really believe and are willing to make the change. And it's necessary always to test the best and the worst of the class. That's true. Because sometimes we always start with the best, and then when the worst comes, we find many problems. And we will continue doing, like I said, this year and next year with the rest of sections.
Well, fantastic.
And that is all.
A great update and new stuff there, which for those of us who are lucky to see your presentation in Zaandam, we've got some new information, so that was very, very good. Let's go to some questions. Mikey is with Albert Heijn. You've got a question, and maybe you can also share a comment. And apologies for pronouncing it badly.
Oh no, that I know you already, Colin. So I know you mentioned me if you are saying Mikey. But yeah, I was wondering. So you showed the amount of QR codes that were not yet scanned by the cash register, and the percentage that you want to get it, well, as close to the old barcodes. So I was just wondering, what is the process if the cashier can't scan it?
If the cashier cannot scan it, underneath we have the number that can be typed, so it can be included in the ticket.
And then you only capture like the selling of that item, but not like the supplier and stuff.
Exactly. We cannot control the expiring date. We cannot control the rest of the information. But we do have, I mean, these numbers are scientific numbers. I mean, we control absolutely what products have been typed. So,
but you do know the type of product, but maybe not the THT of the product.
No, we are not able to get the rest of the information of the product. We are not able to get it.
Yeah, I think we're struggling. We have the GS1 data bar currently on our meat products, and we use that also for dynamic pricing. So the moment that there is something wrong with the barcode, which well, luckily it doesn't happen that often, but if you can't scan the barcode, then we can't like ask what the perfect discount is at that point in time. So I think reliability of the barcode and scannability of it is really crucial in this project.
Yes, that's why one of the solutions was that the suppliers had to implement ways of controlling absolutely every QR. I mean, it's something that has to be done in everyone. We have to assure that every code is read, not that most of the codes are read. So apart from trying to change their process on how they put the label, it was important for them to put controlling measures. Because exactly, if we can't read the code, everything that we have done falls.
And you had 0.1% is the current number you were running at, right, Christina?
Yes.
And is that deemed to be with 99.9, right? Is that deemed to be still too high at 0.1%.
Yes. Our idea is to reach, because with barcodes, this was controlled from many years ago. I mean, when we started many years ago, I'm sure we had the same problem. But now the suppliers they knew that all the barcodes had to be read. So now they have to, let's say, take this idea to the QRs. So our idea is to reach the same number we had before.
Which is
It's
99.999.
yes. It's 0.05% of the codes that have to be typed.
Thank you.
Because, like I said, we even studied the inclination. So if a QR cannot be read, the cashier starts to move and to turn the tray. So everything we have studied to make sure that the label is situated in a position that means that you don't have to turn the tray completely false, because as I showed you in the video, they try to move the tray in order to be able to read it. So everything, all the things that we have done fall if we are not able to read the QR with the scanner.
Very good. Thank you very much. Roberto, down there in Australia, has got his comedy cartoon hand up. Roberto, what have you learned? What's your error rate?
I don't have it here with me, but we did have issues at the beginning. We also went through that learning curve. But I have 2 comments and a question for you, Christina. So the first 2, the comments are, it's not just about the wrinkles and the quality of the barcode. I 100% agree with you, because you are now printing barcodes on demand. They are not pre-printed. They need to be by the supplier. A QA or quality assurance systems in place to ensure that the barcodes are verified by the supplier as they come out of the processing line. So that's absolutely number one. The other point is that the size of the barcode is also a factor.
Yes.
So the larger the 2D barcode, the more difficult it is to maintain it flat, because it needs to be flat on the packaging. If it's not flat on the packaging, it has a wrinkle, or is on the edge of the packaging, it's not going to scan. So the 2D barcodes, the difference with a 1D barcode is that it's looking at a linear level of the linear barcode. And 2D barcode needs to have the 2 axes. That's what is called 2D. So the scanner needs to see the barcode vertically and horizontally to get all the data. So the larger the barcode becomes, the more space of what is called the field view the scanner needs to look at. So, for example, we have pharmaceutical products in our stores, healthcare products that are coming with already with 2D barcodes, GS1 data matrix, which is regulated, and they are the fastest. They scan at 40 items per minute, no issues, no problems whatsoever, because they are completely flat and they have the smallest X dimension on the barcode. So that's very important. If you put too much information on the barcode, it becomes larger and larger and larger, and it will have problems scanning at point of sale. So we are actually in the smallest size of barcodes. This, for everybody that is trying to the barcodes, size matters in this case as well. So just make sure that your barcodes are not too big. A question that I have for you, Christina.
But only one something, Roberto. But we also studied the size of the barcode, because I know what you mean. You can make it too big, because if not, it cannot be flat. But if you make it too small, sometimes we also, because we studied different sizes, because if it was too small, sometimes we also had, if it's too small and it has too much information, sometimes it was also difficult to read. So
yes,
you have to find the balance between the size, the information. It's not an easy. We did tests with different size in order to decide what size it was going to be.
Yeah, so a good recommendation is using the GS1 standards. They have already done the testings around what is the actual minimum and maximum for retail point of sale. The minimum, which is what healthcare is already using globally, is actually the best for scanning at the registers. And that's also what we learn here. So our barcodes, our 2D barcodes, our overall size of the barcode is no more than 12 millimeters. It's just the size of this. Yeah, it's very small, or very small in the scheme of things. But what I'm saying is that is obviously it's easier because the actual barcode is fully flat on the product 100% of the time. Yeah, and reduces the error rates for damage or wrinkled barcodes. But that's one of the steps. The other part is what you guys have done, which is working with the suppliers to make sure that they have the verification systems in place, so they check every barcode that is going through the processing line.
Yes.
One question that I was going to ask around QR: do you guys have issues with non-GS1 QR codes at the registers? So how do you manage? Obviously, there's a lot of products out in the market, yeah, at the moment, and that uses QR codes for marketing purposes and all that kind of stuff. So if your scanners read that QR code that is not GS1 digital link or the ones that you guys are using, will the scanners read it and will it cause an issue at your registers, or you guys are able to ignore those QR codes, or the scanner is able to ignore those QR codes and only read the QR codes that have the GS1 digital link?
Yes. Before we did this project, we already had a Q with our cashiers already were able, our scanners were able to read QRs, because in Fish and another section, we printed QRs that were read and this QR was ours, so it started with Medona, from Mercadona. So now we are able to read GS1 and this one, and we only read these two. They are blocked. The scanner is blocked, and it only reads those types. If you try to read another QR, as you said, that some products include information from the suppliers, we don't read it.
Yeah.
The point of sale ignores, the scanner ignores the information.
The scanner is ignoring anything that is,
yes,
it doesn't have your.
That is doesn't start with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is the scanner doing it, or is your software doing it?
No, this is the scanner.
Okay.
Awesome. You can parameterize the scanner in order to ignore it.
Yeah, fantastic. Love it. Thank you, Christina.
Welcome.
Thank you. Mark Rickson of Tesco has a question. Mark, do you want to ask your question to Christina? I think it's a good question.
Thanks, Colin. Congratulations, Christina. It's an amazing piece of work. I really enjoyed your presentation. I was curious, when a customer scans the QR code in a store with their smartphone, where does the website take them?
At the beginning, ahora nos lleva a la web de corporativa, ¿no? Yes. At the beginning, it was just to a blank page. We didn't include anything, but now it takes you to our website.
Fine. Okay. Is that just a generic website? It takes you to the same website? Yes, it's a generic.
Yes, sir. In the future, we might put information about the product, but that was not the scope of this. As I said, the beginning, our scope was only to obtain information about how much we sell from its suppliers. So some things like this were not thought before the beginning. We just put a blank page because this is not important. So now, as we see these type of things, we have to make decisions and make changes. But right now, it takes you we changed it about a month ago or 2 months ago, and it takes us to our website.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I think, Colin, I've got a bunch of other questions, but I will probably pick up with you directly, Christina.
No problem.
I think you offered to collaborate. I think we have spoken to you previously, actually, and you've been very helpful. So I look forward to connecting again shortly.
Okay, we can have a meeting, or you can send an email, whatever you need.
Thanks so much.
Okay, well, look, we've got a lot to get through. A lot of retailers I'd love to call on, but I think, Christina, I'm going to leave you to the chat, to the mercy of the chat, to say thank you very much. And we do have now a presentation from Beth from Tesco, and hopefully she's going to be able to. Does my screen?
Yeah, sharing.
You're going to share, are you?
Oh, could you share if that's possible?
I will share. Helgi, do you have? Do you want to go? Do you need to go quickly, or do you prefer to go first, Helgi? Or
well, I can go first. Do you like me to share my presentation?
Yeah, I was going to do Tesco first, but for some reason it's showing the last slide of. Yeah, why don't you go, Helgi, and then we'll come back to Tesco while I get this get this sorted out.
Give me 2 seconds. I will share my screen.
So
You hear
Helgi
me
is
okay?
from Norgesgruppen, and Helgi will take over, save me from the technical pieces, and I'll figure out this how to get your slides up in a moment, Beth. Apologies, Beth, for the full start. Okay, over to you, Helgi.
Yeah. I'm just a short input about the status from Norgesgruppen now where we are. We started with this 2D codes in 2020. We had a project from 2014 working with the data bar. So we changed everything towards QR codes or 2D codes in 2020, and nowadays this is the omnichannel ecosystem that we try to support with better information tracking from the vendor all the way to the consumer. And the status today, by April 2025, is that we have now worked with our private label from Unil, internal company, and we have about 50 items with 2D codes now, and it's all sort of items from seafood, meat, and deli. And we continue with the rollout on more items. I will say somewhere around 10 items a month that will be included. And there is also some vendors that has started labeling with 2D barcodes on their product, so that will also speed up the process the next half year or so.
And Helgi, are you able to just share the conversation we just had with Christina and Roberto around the size of the QR code and maybe your failure rates?
Well, I do not have any statistics about failure rates, but I have not got any complaints, so I don't think there is a problem with the barcodes or the QR codes that we are using at our products now.
Okay, very good.
So, and you know all about this, how we can keep track of the products all the way from the origin to the consumer, and we have a lot of generic products like cod, and earlier we didn't know how much did we sell of cod or from the different sources of cod, and that was also the case with a lot of other products. So with 2D codes, that we hope that we will get a better picture of how much we have sold exactly from which vendor.
Thank you, by the way, for the graphic on European Union member states. It brings back good memories.
Yeah, and you see that there is a lack in membership up here. But we are sort of a part of the European EOS Union. Anyway, and I wanted to just emphasize that when it comes to where do we register this information on this barcode, it's important to register it on the delivery note, have the information there, and transport packages and so on is also labeled with 2D codes. Today it is mostly at LGS1 128, and we can then register on specific batches what we transfer for production. We keep that information to the weighing and labeling internally, and we also store the information from all the AIs when we do the sales registration. and we do to pass this information back to the vendor or the wholesaler. And in a test we had with minced meat, we reduced the waste quite a lot by optimizing the replenishment of minced meat from our wholesaler to the stores based on the end of life date in the code. So, and this is how we are implementing the information on our labels. And yeah, I guess that was what I had in mind today. Any questions? I would answer those.
Yeah, and I guess we can get the same generosity that Christina in terms of taking up questions after this particular meeting. You would be open to some further questions, I'm hoping, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very good, very good, very good. Well, look, Chris Jenkins is on the line. Chris, I'm just going to get some reactions from you from the two presentations and just your thoughts on where this is going in your business at Waitrose.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm interested to know. I don't know how close or far away we are, because in terms of my facing activity, I'm operational. But naturally, I'm curious to always know about the innovations, because the way embedded barcodes can change the operational process in shops would be phenomenally beneficial. But for us, we probably have to start own label before we then move into working with other providers and suppliers to see if it becomes industry standard in the UK. But I was just the one question I did have, which was based on Christina's, was around when a QR code contains so much information, how much systems and integrations do you have to look at to make sure that it reads the right information and doesn't take the wrong information? Because if there's a lot in the QR code, we've started putting them on our shelf edge labels. You can start to misread things or get the wrong data back, especially if you're using handheld terminals. So it's just around managing that data within a QR code. But otherwise, not much more from me.
Okay. Christina, do you want to answer that question in terms of how much information? Christina, you able to do that?
Sorry, could you repeat again? Because I was trying to read another.
Yeah, sure. No, I was just curious in terms of the QR codes you shared. Obviously, your content and your structure of the barcode. And I was just curious, how does it work with your other systems, like your imagery systems, if you scan that code? Because there's so much data in there. Like, are you able to ensure that it doesn't affect a system you might use for imagery control versus I saw on one of your videos you generated a markdown label, so it's working to some extent, but how would you ensure that data is still managed correctly across different platforms?
And so I'm laughing a little bit because that's one of the problems that we had. When we started this project, we focused directly on the stores. And we had some problems in the warehouse when they tried to read this information. And the truth is that we totally forgot. But what we try to do is for each system only to process the information that they need. I mean, if in the warehouse they only need our internal number, that's all the information they process. But they had to make changes too. Because at the beginning, there were some scanners that were very old and were not able to read the QR.
Brilliant, thank you.
Good. Very good. Okay, let's pop over to America. Deirdre is with Big Y, a great friend of ECR. I don't know whether this is on your radar at Big Y, Deirdre, but love to have any thoughts or reactions or comments from you.
It's beginning to be on our radar. Unfortunately, over here in the States, we are not nearly as advanced as you are overseas. So this is really just the beginning of informational stages for us. So I am taking some great notes, especially on the information and how it affects the POS register system and our customers' experience. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of this presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan Dobson's with Oscar Mayer. Jonathan, are you able to unmute yourself? You're head of ESG for Oscar Mayer, which is a consumer goods producing company, I think. Produce nice stuff. Meat, I think it is.
It's ready meals, but yeah, I would just look how we might be able to put this on various different products and whether the retailers are ready to read it at this moment in time. So it's merely a learning process for us, I guess, of what's out there and what's available. I think if I do have one question, it's most of the labels are being put on products seem to be on a sticky label, whereas we generally either have a film on top of a ready meal or a film or a sleeve on top of that. So I was just interested about the printing requirements for those types of products.
Yeah, I was seeing being sprayed on in some of the examples. Roberto may be able to cover that. We'll go to Tesco and we'll come back to Roberto. Roberto, we've set you a task. Answer that question. You've been at this longest in terms of, so when we come back to you. But look, I found the Tesco slides. Beth, good news. So I can drive your slides and I'm ready and willing to go.
Thanks, Colin. Excited to be talking about our journey with QR codes, sort of a year on from when we gave our last update in the session last year. Just to introduce myself, so I'm Beth and I work in our supply chain transformation team within sort of stock management. So I look after understanding how we can know more about our stock, its expiry dates, and where it is, for example. And that's why the QR code project sits within my world. I very much don't do this alone. So I have a central project manager, Chloe. I also have Sophie in my team who works with our suppliers and support from a program manager, Mark, who are all on the call as well. As a little bit of context, if you don't know, Tesco has around 3,000 stores in the UK, and we're the largest retailer here with 28.5% market share. We also have business in Republic of Ireland and 3 countries across Central Europe as well. So if you want to move on for me, Colin. So to set the scene for you, we've always felt innovation is really important at Tesco, and we're currently leading the market on transitioning to QR codes powered by GS1 within the UK. So in 1974, we were the first UK retailer to use barcodes for pricing. And then in 2018, we also trialed dual stacked barcodes that had dates embedded within them. So this has been something that our business has been thinking about for a long time. We trialed that in a small number of stores, but unfortunately we didn't take it forward because of the space it took up on pack and the look and the feel of the products. But when GS1 announced the transition to 2D barcodes, that piqued our interest because QR codes obviously have a customer benefit to them, as well as all that great other data, and not only date embedded, but we can also embed other pieces of data. So in last year in 2024, we did a 2-product test with a partner supplier. And then as of around 2 to 3 weeks ago, we have 13 products across produce, meat and prepared foods that all have QR codes on them live in a small selection of stores. So to dig into that a little bit more, if you could move on, Colin. So apart from our variable weight and some of our produce lines, pretty much all of our products in Tesco have linear barcodes pre-printed on the artwork. So introducing QR codes is a massively big new manufacturing task and responsibility for our suppliers, and something that we've been working closely with them to test. We've also spent the last year sort of building an internal business case, so coming up with why we think this is a positive move for our business and the industry. And the sort of next phase of trialing, as I said, that we've just launched on a small number of products, has been really important to us as we have been testing across different packaging types. So we've taken a slightly different approach to Mercadona, and we've looked at a variety of products quite early on, and to see how we can implement QR codes on those. We want to make sure we validate some of the assumptions within that business case that we've built, and we test the complexities and any impacts to our supply base or our customers or colleagues. And that's what this phase of trialing is really about for us. We've engaged as part of that 11 suppliers. So as I said, a broader range of products. And unfortunately, we don't have the results from this trial yet. So it's very much ongoing and very new to our world. So I can't say much more on how it's going. But it is really exciting for us that much like Mercadona have, we've turned on the capability to restrict the sale of barcode products as part of it, which is a big step forward for us and our technology. So if you could move on for me. I just wanted to share 3 key learnings that we found on this journey sort of over the last 12 months, which I'm sure between Roberto and Christina have sort of already come up. But for us, placement is really complex about where you're going to put that QR code on the pack. In the UK, at least, produce and meat drive overall quality perception and customer footfall into our stores quite massively. So we really care about artwork and label design. So that, coupled with where a supplier can currently print the QR code, which is typically next to the use by date, might have quality issues. So as Christina mentioned, tipping a product at the till, for example, and also how the product is currently merchandised. You need to take into account where the QR code or use by date might be, and whether store colleagues can continue doing the routines that they would need to. So it's a complex piece of work that almost needs to be done at a product by product level, and brings together parts of the business who might not have necessarily discussed this before. Secondly, we've had so much support from GS1 UK, so I think Roshni and Camilla are on the call as well. They have been able to introduce us to service providers. I think you can't underestimate how when we speak to account managers from retailer to supplier, how they might not be aware of what's going on in these innovation worlds for our supply base. So the support we've had from GS1 UK has been really imperative to help us get as far as we have already. That's through engaging the service providers and upskilling our suppliers on what GS1 is, what they do, what a QR code can do, and how to maintain compliance with those barcodes. And the third point I just wanted to raise, which comes into sort of building that business case, is we really have to understand what use cases that we might have in the future as a business. We found that we need to give our supply base one really clear ask. Implementing QR codes is very technical. There's everything has to be right about the data you're encoding. Everything has to be right about the print, the contrast. So being able to give them one really clear message and land that within their business is really important. And that's required us to sort of define what the future looks like very early on and test that solution. And then ultimately, as Roberto sort of been mentioning, the amount of data you encode within that determines the QR code size. And so if we keep changing that or iterating that, it might have an impact on the artwork and the redesigns that we have to go through to put QR codes on our pack. So it's definitely not easy, but it's really doable, and we've had a lot of success, at least in the last few weeks, launching the products that we have on the different packaging types, and we're really excited about what this means for us moving forward. So I'll wrap up there, but pass it back to Colin, and happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, no, tremendous job, Beth. I mean, if I could just ask about the failure rates. I know that I'm not sure whether they've got your email address or, Helgi has withdrawn his, I think. But I'm just joking, Helgi. But Beth, have you had any insights on the failure rates of the QR codes?
So we're going to be looking at results in a couple of weeks. So I don't have a view of that now. What we have done is we've transitioned products through dual barcoded. So we've added the QR and kept the linear on to help our suppliers get used to producing that and make sure the consistency is there. And we're currently in the process of dropping those down to only on the QR code on the back, and then we'll get a really good read from there about how accurate those prints have been and how scannable they are at the till.
Oh, and in those conversations that I think you said Sophie, or I think others are having with the vendors and the suppliers, you know, what's the top of the list in terms of here's one of the benefits of doing this for you? What do you call out to them as the benefits?
Really, the traceability and quality plans that we have. So a lot of our suppliers that we particularly partner with and we're working closely with, our biggest suppliers, will have joint quality plans. And we'll be going on a journey with them to improve quality. And so tying that in with traceability and quality from their side has helped us land that. On the whole, suppliers have been actually really, really supportive of the move and are quite willing to trial and innovate along with us. We perhaps thought they would be slightly more resistant to trialing than they have been. So that's been really, really positive.
No, thank you very much, and others will put some questions in the chat. But let's turn to the father of the house, Roberto, who's been on this journey for 5 years. Maybe you said in the email this morning that you might have a few updates to share, but I'd also like to hear your comments and thoughts on what you've heard from the others, Helgi, Beth, and from Christina, and what was new or what was different.
Yeah, thank you, Colin. Well, our dev is just simply we continue to implement to the barcodes in the entire store across all our fresh products, fruit and veg, meat, all the meat convenience, all the meat department is now with the barcodes, which allows us obviously to have one process for managing expiry dates. So it's all system based, not anymore visual checks. So we went from checking daily 350 articles a day to just simply checking 50 articles a day based on the system. The system is telling the team member, you need to check this article, and there's the article that needs to be marked down. And obviously, as a result, we have a reduction in the stock loss as well, because we are proactively managing the use by dates of every product. And as well, our systems are obviously using the expiry date information to improve replenishment and forecasting. So that's good. But we move to now everything that is in store production. So in store production, has its own challenges, such as obviously understanding for hot chickens, how many items do you have an inventory for hot chickens. Now we have an inventory ledger for hot chickens because we know what time the product was produced, and that information is embedded into the barcode as well. So we're doing that in anything that is produced in a store at the moment. And yeah, just basically continue rolling out to the barcodes. We believe to the barcodes is definitely the future, and every product that has a use by date or a best before date should have a to the barcode in future, from fresh to baby formula.
And Roberto, the question came from Jonathan about the packaging forms that you're printing the 2D or QR codes. Could you comment on that, please?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely the good thing is that the technology is already out there in the market, and there are different type of printing technologies available. We do have ready meals that we are printing already with 2D barcodes on the what you guys call the film, the sleeve, which is the carton base, and it's actual. Obviously, you put it right through that leaf, and on the side of the leaf, you have, instead of putting on top, it's on the side. It has the use by date and the 2D barcode, and it's actually printed using thermal printing technologies. But again, the type of printing technology pretty much depend on the speed of your production line as well. So there's another thing that you need to consider when looking at printing technologies. So obviously, some of them, they will be would be faster, like laser, for example, but they will be more expensive from a capital standpoint of view. but it pretty much depends on how many articles you are producing and what is the speed that you have in your processing line. So yeah, it pretty much depends on what the producer is the requirements basically.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roberto. Jacques Desom is with, I probably pronounced that wrong. Jacques is with Walmart out in USA. It's early in the morning out there. Jacques, but are you able to unmute and share perhaps what's going on and what you're thinking about with these three presentations, Jacques? Jacques, are you able to unmute yourself? Yeah.
Yes, I am. Good morning. Actually, you said my name almost spot right, almost 100% on the money there, so not a problem there. In regards to what Walmart is doing today, Walmart has been on a journey for a long time as far as reducing waste, and I think we're doing it on a pretty decent basis right now, but it's very manual currently. So we are looking at other avenues to go ahead and automate it. And also to be able to go ahead and do other things with it, as far as checkout experience, as far as customer experience, and so forth. So right now we are just really just in the matter of researching, hearing what others are doing, to understand what's going on with their 2D barcodes or or if there are any other kind of signal that you're also looking at as well. So we're just really just in the lookout phase and minor small testing that we're doing right now, but nothing major at this point.
And anything different or new or surprising that you've seen presented from Mercadona or from the other retailers?
I think but the only thing that's pretty much new for us, because in the U.S. there's not a lot of 2D barcodes that's currently being used for retail. So I think the big thing really is understanding that from an in-store labeling perspective, yes, we know that we're able to do that part of it. I guess the real learning that today is the ability for you guys to go ahead and get the suppliers to source tag it, and still having good results with that piece, and that's a comfort to understand.
Great. Heidi is with Sobeys up there in Canada. Heidi, how are you? Thanks for joining. What was new? What was different? What was something you've taken away? And what's your company doing up there in Canada? Heidi with Sobeys? Yeah.
This has been an extremely interesting presentation. I work on the corporate sustainability team, and I focus my time on food waste management and store waste diversion. And so this is very new to us. Not working in integration. So this was more of a learning opportunity. We certainly don't have this in our business at this time. And when I did reach out to a couple folks in the organization prior to attending the workshop, I was just curious to know, where we were along this journey. Are we exploring, investigating? Is it, in the hopper? And we're not. So this is definitely something new. And I can appreciate what everyone was saying from Tesco's experience around how it can be very complicated, but doable, working with the suppliers and all of the integration required. So it would definitely take a team of people to move this project forward. So I just want to continue to learn and listen, and I'd love this presentation after and see where I could take it within the organization.
Thank you. Elko with Jumbo. I'm always bad with Dutch names, and then we'll come to Richard Bowman at Marks and Spencer's.
It's pretty close.
Oh.
Yeah, well done. Yes, we have been diving into this to this solution. Yeah, it's evident that it will help you in your in-store efficiency. Although we have not started yet. Mainly the meeting we had at Ahold Delhaize in Zaandam. The number of rescans and the problems with the readability at the checkout. Yeah, that's still a bit worrying. So we're not. It's on our roadmap, but not for the coming months to dive into this.
Okay, and anything surprising and different that came out of the presentation for you today?
Yeah. It's getting better with sustainability. So that was really good to hear. Yeah, one general question. We are familiar with the GS1 data bar, the 128 code, which also has a lot of information included. So I'm still wondering what the real benefit of the 2D barcode is compared to the GS1 data bar, which also provides a lot of information looking at preventing food waste, etc. So that was more or less the open question I still have.
Well, you've got some GS1 people on here. They'll be on the chat before you can finish your thought there. So I'll let them do that, and I'll pop down. And you've also got Roberto offering to give you an answer.
That's
there we
great.
go. From the father of the house.
We look at that, and actually a data bar was the first thing that we looked at before looking at the barcodes. And yes, you can actually embed the same amount of information. However, the data bars become really large, up to 9 times larger than the 2D barcode with the same sort of information. So when you're looking at that and putting that on the packaging, you're going to lose your artwork. So from a marketing perspective, not good. So we went with the data matrix, which allows you to have something that is scannable upon itself, but it's small enough to allow the rest of the product to be the hero, not the barcode. The barcode is just something that we need to use for our assistant, but the hero is the product itself.
No.
So we don't want to make the product a full barcode. No. So that's why.
Now that's a really clear answer. Thanks to that. So it's mainly the size of the barcode. If you look at the fresh items, we put the barcode on the bottom. So for fresh, we might not bother. But if you have round products or other stuff, yeah, then it's then aesthetics is is an issue probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Richard Beaumont and also Tom Lincoln are with Marks and Spencers. Richard, your thoughts and comments?
But firstly, thanks to everyone for sharing the presentation. It's really useful. So I think from our perspective, where it's been something we've been throwing around, I think a lot of the stories have resonated with me. I think the challenges we're facing now is, to some of the presentations already, there's lots of small use cases in lots of different areas of the organization, which collectively probably make quite a compelling business case. But we're lacking kind of sponsorship from one key area that's willing to go all in on it and start to make those changes. So when you think about all the different touch points where we're going to need to make those changes, that's where we're hitting a bit of a stumbling block. And also some of those use cases, we're coming up against the question of could they be solved through other means? So talking about some of the things about waste prediction, improving waste and replenishment of those areas. We're talking with some of our providers. So we've got RELX in as part of our forecasting and replenishment solution, and they've got quite a compelling solution around algorithmically determining what our likely date codes are on the shelf at any given point in time. Now, obviously, that's not as good as knowing for sure. But in terms of incrementally moving us forward on the journey, some of their results are looking quite promising. So it's a combination of sort of uncertainty, lack of sponsorship, and not wanting to go all in at this point in time that's kind of holding us back at the moment.
Are those familiar to you, those sorts of concerns, Beth, for example? Do you feel that way at some point of the journey?
I think always there are issues with making sure that we've got prioritization and it's on everyone's cards as much as it is with other people's. I do think there are unique use cases to QR codes, which has really helped us prioritize this within our own business. Absolutely.
And I guess that might be the blocking, right, of this sale. For one thing, in the UK, for those not familiar, there's significant fines, multi-million-pound fines to be paid for selling goods past their expiry date or having them on the shelf.
Safety, legal and compliance does a good job of bumping stuff up the prioritization list, that's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know, Christina, did you ever feel that way on the journey? Did you ever feel that there was just so many small cases that it wasn't a big case to get over, or was the two supplier thing big enough?
At the beginning, as I said, we launched the project because we were looking only to have the sales. But as we advanced, we saw so many ways of getting benefits. One of them, as you were saying, to assure that we didn't sell any expiring products, because here in Spain, you also have you have to pay if you have that problem. that as we go on in the project, we continue to find new ways of using these QR codes. But at the beginning for us, being able to identify the sales from each supplier was enough to launch the project.
Yeah, that's what I anticipate. I think it's becoming one of these sort of foundational technologies. There's parallels with conversations around e-cells, electronic sharp edge labels, right? Of individually, it often doesn't wash its face, but you can see future use cases that probably are going to present themselves once you're up and running and you have users using it. So it's quite interesting in that regard.
Thanks, Richard. Look, Nick Greenharp, a great friend of ECR, has stayed up quite late to hear all this. But we'd love to hear from you, Nick. If you're still awake down there, but what were your takeaways? What were your thoughts? And Nick is with Coles, by the way.
Yeah, sure. We're obviously trailing our main competitor and Roberto in terms of adaptation in the Australian market. So it's off to you with the journey you've been on the last half decade or so. We're certainly getting more serious about it now. I think in terms of surprising things or different things we heard, I think the answer on why the QR code and how to avoid marketing-related QR codes being scanned at the checkout is certainly something we've been talking about even this week. So that was very helpful. Thank you. One question I did have was just whether anyone had or could talk to any changes in their inventory management processes in store that they'd made on the back of QR codes, or if not yet, how they were thinking about it. For example, stock file says I have 10 units. I've actually got 5. I need to stock out those 5 units and they might be across different date codes. How are we thinking about how we manage that from an inventory process perspective in order to get to directed markdowns and remove, visual checks and those sorts of things? Because that would be a massive unlocker.
Yeah, Roberto, that sounds like a question for you, and maybe Christina, you can take it as well.
Yeah, look, I just wanted to comment that just on the business case, you're right in terms of having the right sponsorship for this is important. The reality is that this unlocks multiple benefits and multiple business cases. And what we've done was that we basically split the entire elephant into bits and pieces. And every single bits and piece has its own business case, not the entire big elephant. So obviously preventing the sale of a product at point of sale from a food safety perspective was number one. And we did that for that purpose and we achieved our business case. And then the other one was around expiry date management and having the inventory ledger by expiry date. So we can actually see an article and the expiry date associated with that article and unlock the opportunities associated with that markdown based on that expiry date. Which we now don't have to actually manually enter anymore. Is all in the barcode and is managed through like any inventory. So that was an important one. There's other ones like traceability, batch numbers, which allows us to instead of, if there is a recall, instead of recalling the entire article, you can actually target the batch that is affected and it's only in a particular store, so you don't have to go through the entire nation, just the stores that have that particular batch affected. Things like that are additional building blocks or different business cases for every single element of 2D barcodes. If you try to put a business case for all of it at the same time, you won't get to it. So the recommendation is just pick the one that your sponsor. In our case, our sponsor was the CEO, and at the time, he actually purchased a product that was out of there, and he said, "No, we're gonna fix this. We need to get this done," and that became one of our main objectives, and so forth. That's the important part. That definitely having a sponsor and looking at all of these different business cases is important. And yes, just on the expiry date ledger, now it unlocks a lot of different system opportunities. So 2D barcoding itself is not the solve for everything that happens in retail, is everything that needs to be unlocked from a systems perspective to use that 2D barcode and the information that it now carries. What do you want to do with that information that now is contained in the 2D barcode is what is more important. So obviously it's your inventory systems, your supply chain systems, your online systems, your markdown systems, all of those different systems that are in your ecosystem now need to consider additional data that is currently to the barcode. So yeah, that's probably in a nutshell what I can share at this point. Hopefully that
helpful,
helps.
Nick.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much you can give away as a direct competitor, but maybe Christina, I'll organise some time with you separately.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
The truth is that we work more or less like Roberto. As I said, our first goal was not the expiring date, but the truth is that this was the first line of benefit that we found. But we saw it first of all to be able to block the sale. So, but right now we are not our stock is not controlled by expiring date. We are not. We are starting to think how to be able to do that. But the truth is that nowadays we are not able. We are not doing. What we do is that we are already starting the project, but it's not implemented totally. What we are going to do is that the store every day now they have to control 4 times a day, ¿no? 4 veces cuenta la R21. 4 veces cuenta la R. They control 4 times a day how many products are going to expire today. Okay, because they have to make sure that well, not expire, how many trades they have that we are going to take away from the sales today. And what we are going to do, we are starting to, but we haven't developed the project yet. They are going to do this 1 time in the morning, and with the sales, we are going to be able to control how many they have left during the day. Okay, so it's going to be automatic, but only part, because right now we don't control the stock with expiring date.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll have one last retailer, which is Torre or Emily from Rema 100. Or is it 1000? 1000, I've demoted you. Torre or Emily from Rema 1000. Torre.
Yes, thank you for having us. Very interesting discussion, great presentations, and the good discussions. And I'm a little surprised that no one is kind of more ahead of the other ones. That's cool to see. Of course, Mercadona, very good, Norgesgruppen as well. We are looking into it these days, and some great tips to run a project here. And I think that if I understood you right, Christina, thinking about the supply chain, about the warehousing, the scanners, and all those technical details, that was maybe not forgotten, but something to think about, right? So, and I guess it's a lot of good things to do there as well. And I'm thinking a little bit about what kind of information that the consumer will meet when they scan the barcode. What about climate data, expiry date, of course, the pricing and all that. So a lot of those interesting discussions thinking about how the consumer can have some added value putting these barcodes on the products. And we're starting the project now, probably picking up good tips here, and maybe run with 2 different suppliers that are ready to do this. And we could discuss more of that when we meet next time, I guess. Yeah, and just for your information, we have set up a research center these days with a Norwegian Business School in Oslo. So we are going to dig into this as well. And Emily, maybe you have a couple of quotes as well.
Yeah, no, I think you said most of it. Of course, the evolution of the barcode and the dynamic pricing is very interesting and will be a game changer in being up with the expiration date and also giving consumer more information. So I think that's the most important to keep in mind to improve and also give consumers the good information that they need along the way.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, look, there's been so many retailers on here today. I can't get to all of you, but it's been a really great discussion. I had to say thank you for Renee for getting us started with just some reassurance that your modelling certainly proves there's some big benefits to go after here. We've heard from Christina, from Beth, and from Helgi, and also from Roberto. We'll do this again next year, so April next year, and we'll see how far Tori's got along the journey, and some others as well, and see whether Richard ever was able to sort of like galvanise the company into behind one big thing. But thank you so much, everyone, and this will see you again in 12 months. But I hope before that, either in Dublin or on one of our in-person, our online meetings, I should say. And yeah, don't forget to fill the survey in. All the very best. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Perfect. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.